welcome back to my channel, and welcome if you're new. Recently I've been going through this weird reading slump, and the last book that I read that I really loved was actually Verity. So I figured the best way to hopefully get over it is by buying new books that I've wanted to read or that I'm currently curious about. Some of the books that I picked up are from Target and Barnes & Noble. So the first book that I actually picked up from Target is Where the Crawdads Sing, and this book is by Delia Owens. It says, for years, rumors of the Marsh Girl have haunted Barkley Cove, a quiet town on the North Carolina coast. So in late 1969, when handsome Chase Andrews is found dead, the locals immediately suspect Kaya, I hope I'm saying that right, Kaya Clark, the so-called Marsh Girl. But Kaya is not what they say. Sensitive and intelligent, she has survived for years along in the marsh, and she called home finding friends in the gulls and lessons in the sand. Then the time comes when she yearns to be touched and loved, when two young men from town become intrigued by her wild beauty. Kaya opens herself to a new life until the unthinkable happens. So I'm so excited to read this book. I've heard amazing things about it, so I'm looking forward to it. And I'm hoping one of these books get me out of my slump, because it's been a little bit of a while. And I'm not sure if it's maybe because my classes have started. The next book that I picked up is The Unhoneymooners by Christina Lauren. I've also heard amazing things about this. I believe this was a summer TikTok book favorite. A lot of the books maybe some of the books that I got were recommended to me through TikTok, but this book, I heard amazing things about it, and it's about twins. One of them is unlucky. I think it's maybe enemies to lovers, so I'm excited to see this book. Olivia Torres is used to being the unlucky twin. Inexplicable mishaps to a recent layoff. Her life seems to be almost comically jinxed. By contrast, her sister Amy is an eternal champion. She has even managed to finance her entire wedding by winning a slew of contests. Unfortunately for Olive, the only thing worse than constant bad luck is having to spend the wedding day with the best man, her nemesis, Ethan Thomas. Olive braces herself for wedding hell, determined to put a brave face. But when the entire wedding party gets food poisoning, the only people who aren't affected are Olive and Ethan. Suddenly, there's a free honeymoon up for grabs, and Olive will be damned if Ethan gets to enjoy paradise solo. Agreeing to a temporary truce, the pair head to Miami. After all, 10 days of bliss were worth having to assume the role of loving newlyweds, right? But the weird thing is, Olive doesn't mind playing pretend. In fact, the more she pretends to be the luckiest woman alive, the more it feels like she might be. So I'm so excited. I know this is a summer book, but I don't mind reading summer books when it's a little bit cold. So I'm super excited. The rest of the books that I picked up are from Barnes & Noble. So the first book I picked up from Barnes & Noble is King of Flesh and Fire by Jennifer L.Armentrout. So this is actually the second book of the series, and I believe there are 4 books in this series, and I finished the first one. I loved it, so I decided to get the second one. So here it says, a betrayal. Everything Poppy has ever believed in is a lie, including the man she was falling in love with. Thrust among those who see her as a symbol of monstrous kingdom, she barely knows who she is without the veil of the maiden. But what she does know is nothing is as dangerous to her as him, the Dark One, the Prince of Atlantia. He wants her to fight him, and that's an order she's more than happy to obey. He may have taken her, but he will never have her. So I heard that this is better than the first book, so I'm so excited to read this. The next book that I picked up is by the book, and it's by Jasmine Guillory. So I heard that this is an amazing romance. I'm a sucker for romance. I loved what it said in the back. It says, sometimes you truly know a person, you have to read between the lines. And it's about a girl called Isabel who's lost, and Isabel is completely lost when she first began her career in publishing after college. She did not expect to be 25, still living at home, and one of the few Black employees at her publishing house, overworked and underpaid, constantly torn between speaking up or stifling herself. Izzy thinks there must be more to this publishing life, so when she overhears her boss complaining about a beastly high-profile author who has failed to deliver his long-awaited manuscript, Isabel sees an opportunity to prove her worth and finally get the recognition she deserves. All she has to do is go to the author's Santa Barbara mansion and give him a pep talk or three. How hard could it be? But Izzy quickly finds out she is in over her head, is not some celebrity lightweight writing to tell all memoir. He is jaded and withdrawn, and it turns out just as lost as cozy. But despite his standoffish, Izzy needs Beau to deliver, and with her encouragement, his story begins to spill onto the page. They soon discover they have more in common than either of them expected, and as their deadline nears, Izzy and Beau begin to realize there may be something there that wasn't there before. So that sounds fantastic. That sounds amazing, beautiful. So I'm so excited to read this. Hopefully this will also get me out of my slump. So the next book, actually these are more like 3 books in one. I picked up the Villans, and it comes with 3 separate books. I have The Fairest of All, The Beast Within, Poor Unfortunate Souls. So I'm so excited to read these. The covers are fantastic, and if I like these, I'm considering buying the others with Captain Hook and the other villains. I had to switch up where I was filming because the lighting was getting out of hand. But the next book that I picked up is actually a poetry book, and it's by Billy Chapata. I was thinking that maybe a poem or a poetry book could maybe help me get out of this reading funk. So the book that I picked up is Flowers on the Moon, and I was honestly drawn to the cover because it's flowers and it's beautiful. It's just my type of vibe, and I really like it so far. What I usually try doing is reading each first chapter of a novel, and then I decide what book I want to read. I chose poetry because it is very short and I feel like it'd be easy to flip through. And the reason I also liked it is because of the back. I'm not for everyone, and that is my magic. You cannot take that away from me. The next 2 books that I picked up are by Lauren Asher. These are The Fine Print and Terms and Condition. I believe that The Fine Print is the first book, and then Terms and Conditions. I thought you could also read these as standalones because they're brothers and they have different stories. So I just wanted to get into this. The first one is about Rowan. So I'm just gonna go ahead and read the back of the first book for you guys. It says, I'm in the business of creating fairy tales, theme parks, production companies, 5-star hotels. Everything could be all mine if I renovated Dreamland. My initial idea of hiring Zara was good in theory, but when I kissed her, things spiraled out of control. I texted her using an alias. And now for Zara's part. After submitting a drunk proposal criticizing Dreamland's most expensive ride, I should have been fired. Instead, Rowan Kane offered me a dream job. The catch? I had to work for the most difficult boss I'd ever met. Rowan was rude and completely off limits, but my heart didn't care. At least not until I discovered his secret. It was time to teach the billionaire that money couldn't fix anything, especially not us. So that sounds so good, no? Like, is it just me? Is it just me? That sounds amazing. And then this one is about Declan and Iris. Declan says, I'm destined to become the next CEO of my family's media empire. The only problem, my grandfather's inheritance clause. Fulfilling his dying wish and getting married and having an heir seemed impossible until my assistant volunteered for the job. Our marriage was supposed to be the perfect solution to my biggest problem, but the more we act in love for the public, the more unsure I feel about our contract. Caring about Iris was never part of the deal, especially not when breaking her heart is inevitable. That sounds so crazy. And then Iris says, my plan to marry Declan was simple in theory. Move in together, throw a wedding, have a baby. We set rules to prevent any kind of issues, ones that were never meant to be broken. No matter how much Declan tempts me, but what happens when our fake relationship bleeds into our real one? Falling in love was never an option, at least not for me. So I want to get the other Lauren Asher books as well, but I'm excited to read these. TikTok persuaded me and some booktubers, so I'm excited to read these. The last book that I picked up is The Silent Patient by Alex Michaelides. I hope that's how you pronounce it. I heard that this book is amazing and is more of a thriller type, and I thought since I liked Verity, maybe I need to get into the thriller genre. It says that Alicia Berenson's life is seemingly perfect until one night when her husband, Gabriel, returns home late from work and Alicia shoots him 5 times in the face and then never speaks another word. That already sounds crazy. It sounds intense. It sounds drama. It sounds like what I need. Alicia's refusal to talk or give any kind of explanation turns a domestic tragedy into a mystery that captures the public imagination. And she, the silent patient, is hidden away from the tabloids at the Grove, a secure psychiatric unit in North London. Criminal psychotherapist Theo Faber is captivated by Alicia's story and jumps at the opportunity to work with her. His determination to get her to talk and unravel the mystery of why she shot her husband will take him down a path more unexpected and more terrifying than he ever imagined. This sounds intense, but it also is totally up my alley. So I think I'm gonna start with this one, and hopefully it can get me out of this reading funk so I could start reading other books. I'm probably gonna be purchasing more books soon, so if you guys like this video, leave it in the comments down below, give it a thumbs up. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I'll see you guys in my next video.